with the history and the facts behind this story.
I just heard about this. I get well briefed before I come out here. The fact that some advisor who never worked on our staff expressed an opinion that I completely disagree with in terms of the voters is no reflection on the actual process that was run.
In Brisbane, President Obama tried hard to downplay Jonathan Gruber's role in the formation of his health care bill. Gruber, who was not only paid by HHS, but eventually made millions from other federal agencies and states, has since talked often about his time dealing directly with President Obama.
So we had a meeting in the Oval Office with several experts, including myself.
Leaving all of that out, President Obama issued a challenge to reporters in Australia.
I would just advise every press outlet here, go back and pull up every clip, every story, and I think it's fair to say that there was not a provision in the health care law that was not extensively debated and was fully transparent.
Looking back, even in 2010, the process was considered anything but transparent. In fact, as James Rosen noted, the founder of liberal FireDogLake.com, Jane Hampshire, wrote in March of 2010 about Gruber. She called his contract with HHS troubling, lamenting the, quote, lack of disclosure on the part of the White House, the Senate, the DNC, and other Democratic leaders who distributed Gruber's work and cited it as independent validation of their proposals, orchestrating the appearance of broad consensus, when in fact it was all part of the same effort. An effort that started picking up steam soon after Gruber's $400,000 HHS contract went into effect in 2009. Before long, Gruber was being cited everywhere. On Capitol Hill.
According to Gruber, who has been our guide on a lot of this, it's somewhere in the vicinity of an $8 billion cost.
And in the press. In early November 2009, Gruber released his House health care bill analysis, which was picked up by then Washington Post columnist Ezra Klein, under the blog title, Massachusetts Provides Evidence That Healthcare Reform Lowers Insurance Premiums. MIT health economist John Gruber sends along a paper looking at premiums under the new House plan. The White House blog then quickly linked to Klein's post and praised Gruber's, quote, objective analysis, which then made its way back up to Capitol Hill. And still no mention that Gruber was working for HHS.
I don't know if you have seen Jonathan Gruber of MIT's analysis of what the comparison is to the status quo versus what will happen in our bill.
2 weeks later came Gruber's analysis of the Senate version of the health care bill. That was picked up by Atlantic's Ron Brownstein in a piece called A Milestone in the Health Care Journey. In it, Gruber is quoted, sourced this way. Quote, Gruber is a leading health economist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology who is consulted by politicians in both parties. Nothing about his HHS contract or any other consulting with the administration or Congress on the bill. In the piece, Gruber is quoted stating, quote, they really make the best effort anyone has ever made. Everything is in here. I can't think of anything I'd do that they are not doing in the bill. You couldn't have done better than they are doing. Firedog Lake's Jane Hampshire writes, the DNC sent out that Brownstein column in its entirety, one of some 71 emails the party sent out touting Gruber's work. Mike Allen of Politico had this post in his playbook the next day under the heading, Obama makes Ron Brownstein blog post mandatory reading for the West Wing, saying all senior staff and anyone involved or covering health care should see the piece. Allen's post was in turn cited by the White House blog, and soon Gruber was being celebrated on the Senate floor.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Jonathan Gruber is one of the most respected economists in the world. Said in today's Washington Post, here's a quote, here's a bill that reduces the deficit, covers 30 million people, 30 million more people, and has a promise of lowering premiums. Pretty good statement.
That op-ed Gruber wrote in the Washington Post laid out his analysis of the cost of the bill. And here's how he was identified at the end. Quote, the writer is a professor of economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And so it went for months. Hampshire wrote that Gruber's spreadsheet for scoring the bill ended up looking very similar to the Congressional Budget Office official scoring, adding, quote, "Now that it is known that Jonathan Gruber was a White House consultant, the assumptions that have been used by the White House to estimate the impact of the health care bill for decades to come should be made publicly available."
The reason that I think this conversation ends up being a little frustrating is because the focus entirely is on Washington process. And yes, I have said it. That is an ugly process.
This is one-sixth of the U.S. economy, though, sir.
Sir,
One-sixth.
and Brent, let me tell you something. The fact of the matter is that for the vast majority of people, their health care is not going to change.
So how
but
can
so the notion
you guarantee that they're not going to be able to keep their doctor?
Brent, you got to let me finish my answers.
But sir, I know you don't like the filibuster.
This notion that this has been not transparent, that people don't know what's in the bill. Everybody knows what's in the bill. I sat for 7 hours.
Mr. President, you couldn't tell me what the special deals are that are in or not today.
I just told you what was
Is Connecticut in?
Not in. Connecticut. What are you specifically referring to?
$100 million for the hospital. Is Montana in for the asbestos program? Listen, there are people, this is real money.
Absolutely.
People are worried about this stuff.
And as I said before, the final provisions are going to be posted for many days before this thing passes.
That was 3 days before the House voted on the health care bill that eventually became law. That was March 17th, 2010.